Today on Wolfpack Weekdays, we're going to be talking about UFC 199. Welcome back to Wolfpack Weekdays. Like I said, we're going to be talking about UFC 199, which just happened last Saturday. And before I start, I feel like I should kind of explain why I want to talk about this. So, here's the deal, guys. I've done martial arts a lot in my life. Like pretty much my entire childhood. At the same time I was playing soccer, I was doing taekwondo, and then I got into mixed martial arts because of the Forrest Griffin-Stephan Bonner fight. And basically, I love the sport, I follow the sport, so I'm going to talk about it when it comes up. And I watched the pay-per-view, and I want to talk about it. It was an insane one, so yeah, it's probably going to be a common thing on the channel, so not for everyone, just like most things I talk about, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Okay, so UFC 199 was a two-title fight pay-per-view with a bantamweight title on the line and a middleweight title on the line. And the title fights were the most interesting part for sure, because literally the two people involved in each one hated each other. So it was a great time to watch. But before that, there was good main card fights, good preliminary fights, and we're just going to talk about the big ones, the ones that were the most exciting, the ones that I would say are worth watching later on down the line on Fight Pass, or if you want to, go order the pay-per-view and watch it. It's worth it. So, the first one I want to talk about is the Dan Henderson fight. Dan Henderson is a fighter who's been fighting forever, basically. He fought in Pride. He was a two-time champion in Pride, and he is 45 years old right now, and he's still fighting. Well, sort of. He got into a fight with a guy named Hector Lombard, and basically, after rocking him in the first round, he chased him down, and then Dan Henderson almost got put out of the fight. It was really interesting, really exciting, and then he turned it around to win it. Really incredible knockout on that one. But what's interesting more than anything, besides the knockout, because he's knocked out plenty of people in his career, was what he said afterwards. He's thinking that this might be his last fight. So he's thinking, he might be done. He might retire. I mean, he's 45 years old. He's been fighting forever. So it is a possibility we'll never see him again. So it could be his last fight, which is a big reason to watch it. Next on the list was Max Holloway. Max Blessed Holloway. He is a featherweight fighter who is incredibly exciting and only 24 years old and already ranked 4th in the world in featherweight. Incredible fighter, has kicks, has great striking, has great mental game and awareness of just everything to do with the fight game at 24, which is incredible to say the least. He got this fight with the guy who's ranked number 5, because when you're in the UFC, the whole point is to be in the top 10, mostly the top 3 to the next contender basically for the title. And in the featherweight division is the guy most people will know, Conor McGregor. He is the champion at the time right now, and as of UFC 200, he'll have his next opponent between Frankie Edgar and Jose Aldo. But after this huge win by Max Holloway, after rocking this guy numerous times, and all he needed was a left head kick to finish him. The entire time I was screaming at the TV like you could hear me, because that's what you do with sports. And I was just screaming, throw the left head kick. It's right there. The guy kept dropping his right hand and leaning, and it would just been like, bah, and done. Left head kick. And I know he has it, because he's thrown it before. But he just didn't. He ended up winning by decision. Still an awesome fight, especially the last 10 seconds where they just say, screw it, let's throw. And they just throw haymakers for 10 seconds. It was great. But I would say that this is a very interesting fight to watch, because he is already ranked 4 before this fight, and now that he's won this one, he's going to be up there. He has to at least be, stay at rank 4. He has to at least stay at rank 4. And then based on what happens in the fight after, with the fight into 200 for the interim title between Frankie and Jose, he should probably move ahead of the loser, because he has been on, I think it's a 5-fight win streak right now. And if he's not next in line after this one that's already kind of a title eliminator with the interim title, then I'll be shocked. Now, the fight after the Max Holloway fight was the fight I actually watched the pay-per-view to see. It was Dominick Cruz versus Urijah Faber 3. So basically what it was Urijah Faber is one of those people most people know in the the MMA world, because he's kind of the pretty boy. He's a California guy with the long hair and all that. And he was the face of a company called WEC, which got absolved by the UFC and was basically the home for the lighter weight divisions. That means featherweight, bantamweight. And that was like the upper echelon. That's where you went to fight because there was no weight classes back then in that, that weight in the UFC. So he was the face of the WEC featherweight division. And Dominick Cruz, this young guy, took a fight on short notice and fought Urijah Faber, and he lost. Basically, he wasn't anywhere near the type of talent he is now because he was very new to the sport. He was a good fighter, but he wasn't on the level Urijah was. Urijah was the king. So this led into the second fight, which was after the UFC added in these new weight classes, the bantamweights and the featherweights. And what they did is they took the WEC champions, which was Jose Aldo at the time, and Dominick Cruz in bantamweight, and just made them the UFC champions. So his first fight was against his longtime rival, because these guys hate each other because of the first fight and all the drama that happened with it, in Urijah Faber, and they fought. Dominick Cruz dominated Urijah Faber to keep his title. And it was a kind of close fight, don't get me wrong, but in all reality, it wasn't as close as the cards made it look. I've seen the fight like 3 times, and I love watching it because they're both really fast fighters. They have good footwork in that fight, and they're running around. And Urijah was rocking Dominick, I will say that, but Dominick won on the points by a lot, and it was a lot farther apart than most people seem to realize. And then Dominick Cruz got hurt. They had already set up a third fight, basically, for the title, with the Ultimate Fighter being the lead into it, which they do a lot. But Dominick Cruz tore his MCL and ACL, I think, and had to have like 3 knee surgeries, and he was basically put on the shelf for 3 years, came back, fought again, knocked a guy out in the first round, and then had to go back and get hurt again and get another knee surgery, and then it was like another 2 years or another year, and then so it was crazy. He got hurt a lot, and basically what happened was TJ Dillashaw took over the spot of champion, and that fight between him and Urijah, Dominick being never happened. So the third fight never happened, and Dominick came back after all this layoff and only one fight in like 4 or 5 years, and won the title back from TJ Dillashaw because he never lost it. He got it stripped from him because he couldn't defend it for so many years. So he came back, beat a real tough talent in TJ Dillashaw by a really close margin. Beat him, takes the title back, and the first thing that happens is Urijah Faber starts talking crap to get the title shot. So Urijah Faber, Dominick Cruz 3. And this fight was the one I came for, and it did not disappoint. My favorite fighter is Dominick Cruz because of his footwork. It's how I used to fight when I used to do mixed martial arts. And he destroyed Urijah Faber. It is a very entertaining fight because they are, like I said, they hate each other. So there's a few moments where they're at each other's throats and stuff. It's definitely worth watching. And if you like to learn or watch, basically if you like to watch and analyze and stuff like that, Dominick Cruz is the person you want to look at for striking. His movement, the way he throws his body, he feints, everything. It's shocking. He actually almost knocked out Urijah this time. So definitely a fight to watch. Basically the final installment, because Urijah said that he might retire. So we'll see what happens with that, but it's very interesting. I honestly believe that Urijah Faber should, if he can, drop more weight and challenge Demetrius Johnson down at flyweight. I think that would be more of his fight because he's always a lot shorter than these guys at bantamweight and featherweight, and it is a disadvantage. So that leads into the main event. This was a huge mess. Like the weeks leading into this pay-per-view changed everything about it. So the current champion at the time was named Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold had beaten Chris Weidman, who was the person who took down Anderson Silva, the greatest of all time, to win the title, and he beat him very handedly. So it was supposed to be Chris Weidman versus Luke Rockhold 2. He was getting his rematch. 2 weeks before the fight, he gets hurt and can't fight. Again, this is a common thing that's been happening lately. I don't know what's going on, but people are pulling out of fights a lot lately. So basically what happens is Luke Rockhold gets his choice of 2 contenders to fight. One of them's hurt, and he does I think he chose him because he didn't choose him because he's hurt. There's no reason to give him an excuse. So he chose Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping just got off a fight with Anderson Silva, and he beat him. He beat the best of all time, so he had that under his belt, and he was ranked like number 4, I believe, in the middleweight division. So it became a very interesting fight because Michael Bisping was the Ultimate Fighter 3 winner, which was back in 2006. He's been fighting in the UFC for 10 years, very successfully, I might add, and has never got a title shot until last Saturday. And it was on 2 weeks' notice. He took the fight because it was his first time he ever got called for it. And he basically is this loudmouth Brit who has a great left hand and is just a good fighter. Now, with that being said, though, Luke Rockhold had already beat him. Luke Rockhold beat him a few years back with a head kick into a guillotine, choked him out. That's it. He got caught. He beat him. So everybody had Luke Rockhold winning this very, very handedly. Well, I had Michael Bisping winning it. Don't ask me why. I really don't know why. I was taking a shot in the dark here because I was kind of hoping he would win. I want him to be the champion, and you know what happened? In the first round, he knocked him out. Michael Bisping was the 4th ever Ultimate Fighter winner to win a title in the UFC. So Michael Bisping on Saturday night became the 4th ever person to win the Ultimate Fighter and then win the championship in the UFC. First, it was Matt Serra when he beat GSP in the welterweight division. Then it was Forrest Griffin in the light heavyweight division defeating Rampage Jackson. Then Rashad Evans took it from Forrest Griffin. So that's 3 there. Last night when I'm filming this, Michael Bisping knocks out Luke Rockhold in the first round to become the 4th ever. So basically, what I want to see out of this is a rematch. I want to see the 3rd one of Michael Bisping versus Luke Rockhold. It should be a crazy fight because basically what happened in that fight was Luke Rockhold came in way too confident and Michael Bisping caught him. That's it. He underestimated Michael Bisping, didn't think his power was anything, and he got knocked out for it. Never underestimate your opponent. That's always what you should believe. So overall, 199 was a great pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time watching it, and I highly, highly recommend watching these fights as soon as you can. Whether they're on Fight Pass in like a month, or if you go get the pay-per-view, or do whatever you do with Pirate Bay, you know. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think about this idea of kind of talking about UFC. It is kind of spoiler heavy. You kind of find out what happened in the the fights, but talking about certain fighters and what they're doing and what happened and kind of ideas of what the next thing they do sounds fun to me. So let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and leave some conversations about the UFC if you're into it. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more. And if you have any suggestions, use the hashtag WPW down in the comments or on Twitter, and your idea might just get featured on the show. Thanks again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.